stretch, but Cajun moon could somehow lend itself to Easter. So my thoughts exactly. So that victory in Jesus was as close as we got to be able to share. My favorite subject is the cross. And I was given an opportunity one night in Oklahoma with a whole bunch of other pastors to share for 5-minute slots at this Easter service. And I was like, the rudest thing you can do is ask a pastor that loves the cross to preach for only. And we did it. It was awesome. But this morning, I kind of find it ironic. My favorite subject again, followed by time during praise and worship. And God had really revealed some things to me about that passage. And so I want to do that this morning. I know that's 3 chapters. And we read that it is a very prophetic scripture that speaks of Jesus during the time of the crucifixion. And to heaven, then we could not have Psalm 23. And the way I had shared it before was, you look at a lot of gravestones, and they have, like my dad's would be, it would say April 7th, 1952, I think, dash, October 11th, error a little bit, but I wouldn't. And I'm not that prophetic. So, but how we live that dash, and to me, Psalm 23, the most favorite scripture, people, the Lord is my shepherd, I have everything I need, He'll take care of me. That's our dash. But we couldn't have that Psalm 23 without Psalm 22 and Psalm 24. And so, I've wondered, man, what it must have been like, what Mary Magdalene. In so many ways, I feel like her this morning. Or what I imagine she must have felt like, at least. The dirtiest, but she who gave was forgiven much. Forgave much. But he's on the cross, and Psalm 22, verse 1 says, my God, why have you forsaken me? And Jesus is like, why have you forsaken me? And we know that He didn't really suffer a death. A lot of people probably have, but there's been some horrible deaths through the years with humans. Like if my best friend and get there to be him, I believe that I could, as bad as it would be, I believe I could keep eye contact with my best friend and let him know that, listen, it'll be okay. Like this hurts. To through a connection or something through this. They could not kill Jesus until He had sin on Him. And when He took my sin, when He took your sin, and He's there hanging, then He cries out, my God, you've forsaken me. Nothing wrong. I lived a perfect life. He knew what was coming. And God turned away. I believe God lost eye contact, if you will, with His perfect, spotless Son, because He became anger. Jesus became bitterness. Jesus became gossip. Jesus became hatred and pornography and adultery. Jesus became, and God could not look at that because His perfect Son had became what we are or were. We have done. He became sin who knew no sin. And God turns away, and Jesus is like, why? Why have you forsaken me? So far from helping me and from the words of my time, but you do not hear. And in the night season, I'm in Psalm 22, and in the night season, and I'm not silent, but you are holy. You are holy, he says to God, and thrown from a reproach of man. I'm despised by the people. All those who see me ridicule me. They shoot out the head, saying, he trusted in the Lord, let him. That word's quoted in some of the Gospels. I forget which, I didn't write all that down, but where the Pharisees walked by, shaking, it says, he trusted in the Lord. He says, well, one angel could have done it. 12 legions. How many is a legion? Someone, I don't even know off the top of my head. I'm not sure. It's a bunch. Yeah, Abel's right. It's a lot. Whatever it is, it needed one, but he had a bunch at his disposal. He said, the Lord, let him rescue him. Let him deliver him, since he delights in him. And have you ever heard that in your own life? You believe in God? You believe in healing? Why aren't you healed? You believe in God, it gets thrown in your face, but yet He's... And I don't understand all that, but He's God, and He's holy, and like that, He can do things. But you are He who took me out of the womb. You made me trust while on my mother's breast. I was encircled me. They gape at me with their mouths like a raging and roaring lion. I didn't look into all that. I don't know what all that means. But it's a picture of strong things, outside forces, strong bulls of Bashan. Bulls a lot in my life. It's just with, they're going to hurt you. And he's surrounded by these bulls. They gape at me with their mouths open like a raging and roaring lion. My bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax. It's melted within me. My strength is dry, potsherd. My tongue clings to my jaws. You have brought me to the dust of death. I kind of feel like that this morning. My tongue is clinging to my jaw. I'm nervous. Dogs have surrounded me. The congregation of the wicked has enclosed me. The congregation of the wicked has enclosed me. Jesus was tortured by what we would call today the church, the religious church. And I promise you, if persecution comes from the church, a lot of it always has. And I don't believe that's going to change a whole lot. I've wondered this many times. Like, they pierced my hands and my feet. I count all my bones naked. His bones were popping out of his skin, showing, like, not literally, but you could see through his skin is what I believe is saying. Like, just this picture of distress. I can count all my bones. They look and stare at me. They divide my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. We know the soldiers divided his garments, and then there was this one piece that was a whole piece, and they couldn't divide it, and they was like, let's cast lots for it, So they drew toothpicks or whatever they did, and someone got that robe. And declare his righteousness to a people who will be born that he has done this. So this whole chapter is talking about the crucifixion of Jesus. And I read through this. It as a commentary is just my personal thing. And the last phrase there in verse 31 in the New King James, which I'm reading, it says, was he cried out, it is finished. And another passage just says he not necessarily finished, but over. It looked over. It looked hopeless. It's easier to talk about this after, after what happened. But at the moment, if you can imagine with me, I'm lost. This man that had done these miracles, that had done all these things, that had healed the sick, that had done all these things, he was now, and that was his last finish. Those two boys do like each other. You just got to get them up early, huh? Yeah. Psalm 24. We're going to skip 23. We'll go back to it. But Psalm 24. To me, this is my most favorite passages in the whole Bible. The earth is the Lord's and all its fullness. We have recorded in John, if you go back to Genesis chapter 1, you can read where Jesus was with God when they created the earth. John chapter 1, it talks about that the Word was with God. They created. You read in Genesis, the day and night, it was good. They or us. But Jesus was there. The earth is the Lord's. Jesus had so much to do with the creation of everything. No. The earth is the Lord's and all its fullness, the world and those who dwell therein. He has founded it upon the seas and upon the waters. So he decided that at the ocean's edge, that at this, I'm not stupid, but I'm simple. That doesn't, I don't get that. I just think that he decided at that point water's going to stay there. But why not 100 feet over here? All I can say is Jesus and God decided this. The earth is the Lord's, and I love creation. And that's one reason, as a taxidermist, I feel so inadequate to do my job. I can go to Jayco, build a cabinet, pretty fast and feel, okay, that's good enough, blah. And to me, I feel like every piece that goes out is a failure. Now, take that how I mean it. Like a fish will completely turn this blah-looking color, when in every single scale has 4 or 5. These verses about the earth is the Lord, it means so much to me because I see it every day. God, and how we fall so short, and how this God that came to be flesh, He became flesh, and He came to this earth that He created. He came to that He helped create, and they turn around and kill the one that made them. That's for, as a taxidermist, I do a better job. He came. He was killed. And now I want to imagine, I firmly believe there's the whole range of emotions in heaven, like we have on earth. Like, I don't believe that God gave us choice at a conversion. How sad must have they been at a death of a perfect, spotless, God did, but did all the angels, the other beings in heaven, did they understand that in 3 days He was going to come back? Or was there this sad? I believe that with my whole heart. So I don't know what they knew for the future, but I believe this complete sadness. And I believe, how many times, especially in the Old Testament, had we read of angels coming and just wiping out herds of people? Or people in herds, maybe it's flocks of people, groups of people, wiping out. Gabriel, come on, God. Let me go get those, I can't say in church. Let me go get them. And God's like, no. No. This conversation between between Jesus, and Mary. And Mary's just distraught that they're killing her. And Jesus is like, it's okay. I'm making all things new again. And I believe maybe God's like, no, hang on, Gabriel, leave it. Because something's better coming. So, I believe there was a knock on heaven's door. This is just me imagining, but a knock. Well, he who has clean hands, he who has a pure heart, he who has not lifted up his soul to an idol, nor sworn to, he will receive blessing from the Lord. And answer, that's who can stand in the place of the Lord. That's who to heaven and the earth now be the footstool. It's Jesus. There's only one. There's a one. I'm going to skip verse 6 for right now, because I believe this means so many different things. And I believe, have you seen pictures of alive? I think whatever it is. But we've all seen pictures of buildings that just look dead. There's dead vines on the walls. There's no life. The flower beds are up your heads, O ye gates. Come on. Come back to life. Lift up your heads, O ye gates. Be lifted up, you everlasting doors, and the King of glory shall come in. Who is this King of glory? And the answer comes back, He is the Lord, strong and mighty. And I believe at this point they knew that Jesus came back from the dead. This is a little bit, but something up there. Something happened that, there was. He was back. Whoa, our King is back, Lord, mighty in battle. Lift up your heads, O ye gates. Lift up, you everlasting doors. And the King of glory shall come in. Who is this King of hosts? He is the King of glory. That is such an amazing picture to me of Do you think there was joy in heaven for one sinner that repents? Imagine the joy in heaven when Jesus comes. Wow. And I've realized again this week how much trouble I have accepting a gift that is a sacrifice to someone else. And I think salvation was so hard to grasp was because of my dirtiness and what I had done. And thinking works-based, Mennonite religion, to where I could say a lot, but you almost had, you basically had to work your way and do the right things and be good enough. I tried and tried and tried until I was Mary, she had done. And now to fully accept that gift that cost my God so much, it was hard. And at times I wonder if I still struggle with it a little bit, but it's a growing thing. But just to accept a gift from other humans that cost, I'd a lot rather myself give you a gift than to have you do that for me. It's just hard for me. And so I acknowledge that coming. So if you want to sacrifice and get, no, I'm just kidding. Help me out with my journey, There is so much in these 3 days. I'm not much of a scholar, but my understanding is, so if you read through Hebrews 9, a lot of Hebrews, but Hebrews 9 talks a lot about the old sacrifice versus the new sacrifice. And scholars believe, and we know it's Passover, and just real quick, I'm going to try to wrap this up. So when the Israelites came out of Egypt, when they came out of Egypt, they had to kill one lamb for every household. And they had to take that blood, basically, go around the door jamb there with that blood and be inside that house, protected by that blood. And when that angel of over that land, if you had the blood, you were safe. And that's just such a picture. And so they had these things behind the veil in the temple. And Hebrews 9 talks about that. There was the Ark of the Covenant. There was the mercy seat with the blood that the priest would go in once a year with blood behind that veil. And if he didn't do it right, he was killed. Common man wasn't allowed in there, and he'd go in there and sprinkle that blood. And there was the 10 Commandments were in there, and Aaron's rod, and a few things that was just so sacred and kept in there, and it was promises, and one man was allowed in there every year. And at this time, during the Passover, scholars believe, and I tend to agree, knowing how cool God is with everything, that at the hour, and I forget, is it 3 o'clock that they think Jesus died? But we'll just say 3 o'clock. At the exact hour, so this was a precise thing that these people did. There was the priest. They would have this spotless lamb, Glenel sheeply, like sure enough, sheep, little perfect spotless lamb. And there was this ceremony that they would do with it. And I see most of you, I didn't even say that right. At least you all are smiling. I'll say it again. Glenel sheeply. Now you're laughing. Say it again. No. So you're all awake now, making fun of my Dutch. Oh, I see. So they had this little sheep, this perfect little lamb, and they was doing this ceremony, and they had it all with the knife. And there was another person with this basin, and they would cut I'm sorry, it's gross, but they would cut the sheep's throat, as much blood of it they can. If you ever seen a live animal's throat slit, it doesn't. So there was blood everywhere, but they was catching as much as they could. And then they would take that blood, and that priest would go into behind the veil, and it is believed at the exact moment that priest was slicing that sheep's throat, Jesus cried out, "It is finished." They believed even simultaneously, the old and the new, at one time. And I don't know what that priest's veil was torn from top to bottom. Only one person could enter once a year to cover, not take care of, but to cover for another year the sins of the people. That place was exposed. And if anyone went back there besides the priest, they were killed. Now this thing is open. It is open to all. And that had to be one confused high priest. I'm just telling you. What do I do now? I went to what he did do. What he did do. There was darkness over all the land. Whether it was just miraculous, whether it was an actual eclipse of the sun. If it was an eclipse of the sun, it was set in motion from the beginning of the earth for everything to line up. For at the time of his crucifixion, boom. Whatever it was a miracle. There was darkness over, there was earthquakes, there was many dead people come to life. We don't talk about that much. Many dead people come out of their graves, went to town. Oh, Uncle Boudreaux, what are you, you died 3 months ago. What? And think about this. We don't talk about that because of the power of what happened. He broke the chains of sin and death. He took stripes on him. He was for healing. There's just so much that we could talk about. But this is the one that went back to heaven. The one that is sitting at the right hand of God interceding for you and me. The one that makes this poor guy get there. He's the one that met Mary. The one that was looked down upon as much as a person could be in that culture. A prostitute. She had 7 demons, I think it was. 7? Are you kidding me? I've dealt with several in one woman before. 7? That's a lot. At a word, Jesus can take care of that. At a word. And because of all that, we have this dash of life we can live. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. And that means I don't need anything. I have everything I need. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. I'm going to simplify this so much this morning, but it's just a picture of all you need. It's a picture of comfort. I just have this picture of sheep out in this lush field, just laying down enjoying the sun. Me beside the still water, where if you step in, it ain't a danger of being swept away. It's just a calm place. It's a place to be. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for His name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. This is a shadow. It's a valley and it's a shadow. It ain't the real thing. His death was the only real death, if you will. That it was the realest death there ever was or ever will be. The rest of ours is a shadow of it. I will fear no evil, He says. You are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. I remember preaching through a sermon on each verse one time, so there's a lot in here. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. Cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. There's one thing I want to read real quick. Valentin put on Facebook this week. You prepare for me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil, and my cup overflows. If you become devil conscious, you'll never have a peaceful meal. And that hit me pretty hard, especially because I was going to mention this this morning. If you become devil conscious, you will never have a peaceful meal. And he says here, you prepare a table for me in the presence of my enemies. I don't know, how cool is that? My cup runs over like I got more than enough. My coffee ran over on the way to church this morning, got a little on my leg. It's not what it's talking about, but my cup runs over. Always enough. There's always enough. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me. Most days of my life? No, it says all days. All the days of my life. And I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. With that verse, I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. I looked up that house, And it does not mean this church building. That was the most, I think I screenshot. Hang on one second. If I did, I'm going to read it to you. I got a lot of pictures of fish on here. All right. The word for house is, it's abbreviated, a house in the greatest variation of applications, especially family. So this is the most broad word you can have, is my understanding, for the word house. It means the court. It actually means daughter, family. Great as would contain hangings, home, house, winter house, old, palace, place, prison, steward, tablet, temple, tablet, imagine that. Tablet, temple, web. So, even web, that's interesting. Everything is what this is saying to me. Everything. If you're in prison, if you're in the king's palace, if you're in this building here, if you're at home making cabinets, if you're on a bulldozer pushing dirt, like